be where the tornado is. That's where the updraft is into the storm. Intense circulation, start to elongate, and maybe putting out a funnel. I want to step out of the screen for a second. We've got a bulletin coming in.
Yeah, Todd, while you do that, we have Deputy Chief Robert Strahan on the phone with us from the Greenfield Fire Department. We want to ask you what you're seeing right there, Mr. Strahan. Give us an idea what it's like in Greenfield.
Right now, we're really not experiencing too much in the city of Greenfield. We have some heavy winds that came through, some heavy rain, a lot of lightning, but no real damage at this time.
And you are with the 911 calls when they come in, you'll be notified of those, obviously. Have you gotten a lot of calls from people reporting any kind of damage out there?
Not within the city limits. We have been hearing neighboring communities go out to various incidents. I know that there was a lady struck by lightning in one of the hill towns near us. There's been a couple fire alarm activations, but really no damage to report in the city of Greenfield.
What do you anticipate this afternoon? Are you feeling right now that you're in the clear, or do you see that these other storms are coming through and it's something you're going to have to watch for the next few hours?
We're going to keep a close eye on the storms as they roll through. I think the city of Greenfield looks to be pretty good right now. We're keeping a close eye on the storms to our south in case we have to render aid to any of the communities south of us. They look like they're going to be in the path of some of these damaging storms.
How big a department do you have? And on a day like this with a storm like this, what do? You call everybody in?
If it warrants it, if we have enough damage, we would recall the entire department, but right now we're in really good shape.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate your time, Deputy Chief Robert Strahan from the Greenfield Fire Department. And we also want to get back to Todd. Todd, a second ago it sounded like you had a bulletin coming in. Do you have some new information?
Well, a little bit, yes, thank you, Lisa. This line, extensive line, which goes from southern New Hampshire, southwestern New Hampshire, all the way through the Connecticut Valley into northern parts of Connecticut. There's a new severe thunderstorm warning, I should say, up until 4:30, so for another 40 minutes. For parts of Worcester County now, it's been extended into parts of Worcester County, northwestern Worcester County. Also, southern Cheshire County in New Hampshire, in the Jaffrey area, it looks like we're going to be under the gun again here, too. We still have that one nasty cell earlier this afternoon was capable of producing a tornado as it crossed the Connecticut River from Brattleboro into New Hampshire and went right over Keene with some pretty large hail, now headed toward Manchester and Goffstown. May go just south there. We'll keep an eye on that very closely. But it looks like we could see another storm develop right in here. Maybe this may pop up into that area and cross over the border into Jaffrey, Temple, Wilton area. That's until 4:30. Greenfield as well. You're on the kind of the eastern side of these storms. So we just talked to the law enforcement official out there in Greenfield, and it looks like kind of out of the woods at the moment. And it doesn't look like at the moment there's anything in its path here in northern Berkshire County, although there's this one little cell popping up or trying to grow out here near Bennington. Look at this. We call this training. Multiple cells all in the same path. Training back toward the Berkshires. So we've got this one nasty storm over Northampton. We've got another one right behind it, another one behind that, another one near Lee and Stockbridge out on the western part of the Pike. And they're going over the same towns. We're probably going to have some flash flooding because of this. You're going to get a lot of rain from all of these, and if they're all going over the same towns, you know, you got 4 cells going over the same town, you could easily pick up 2, 3, 4 inches of rain. You know, we saw this late last week up in Vermont, up near Montpelier, the capital of Vermont, where we had some flash flooding from these storms. That could easily be the case again out here near the Berkshires and western parts of Massachusetts. Would be worried about that. Some of those storm drains wouldn't be able to keep up with the training of these storms going right over the same towns over and over. We've got some lightning on here. Lightning detection showing some incredible amounts of lightning. This is mostly cloud-to-ground lightning that's coming out of the cloud, and it's going right down to the ground. So it could strike a tree, it could strike a house, it could strike a building, strike a car, and could cause some problems there. That's kind of why you want to stay indoors, obviously. You want to stay away from trees. Stay away from taller structures. I know it sounds weird. You think you're sheltered under a tree, but that tree is way up there. You know, 50, some of these mature trees, 100 feet tall. They get struck at the top, goes all the way down the trunk, and all the way through the root system. You could be standing on a root 20 feet away from that tree and get electrocuted. So you want to stay away from trees. And get indoors. That's the safest place to be. If you can't find a shelter indoors, get into a car. That's the next safest. Just stay away from any outdoor activity right now if you're out in the Connecticut Valley, out in western parts of Massachusetts. And in the next half hour, 45 minutes, places in central Mass Worcester County especially, because these storms are racing to the east at about 40 miles per hour.
Hey, Todd, real quick, the tracking system that you've got is great. I mean, you can actually tell people, you can pinpoint it to the time when it'll actually make its way to their neighborhood. Can you show us again with that leading cell, the one that's given us the most problems so far, when is that going to make its way closer to our area? I know it's just to the north of us, but closer into our area in the vicinity.
Sure, absolutely. Terry's in the weather office right now. He's driving the radar for us, doing a great job, and here's our tracking system right now on this particular cell that's right over Northampton, probably producing some very large hail, 1 inch to 2 inches in diameter. So it's moving east at about 40 miles per hour. So our system is saying it'll be in Amherst at 3:58. So about 4 or 5 minutes from now, you got a little lead time there. Hubbardston, 4:38. Princeton, 4:49. And then in the city of Worcester, 1 hour from now, if it continues on this current pace of 40 miles per hour to the east. Worcester, 1 hour from now, appears to be in the path of this line. So we'll be monitoring this all afternoon. It is continuing to progress to the east at 40. It'll be in Worcester at about an hour. It'll be in Boston in about 2 hours. We are hopeful, very hopeful, that this particular line will start to weaken, at least enough so that we're not getting the rotation within these storms as it gets close to Boston, most likely, though, south and east of Boston. That's where we have somewhat tempered heat, somewhat tempered humidity.
Todd, quick question for you. Does the sea breeze that you get as you move closer to Boston play a role in breaking this up or weakening it?
It absolutely does. And I wish today, Lisa, I wish we had a really strong sea breeze which would penetrate inland into Metro West and really cool this whole air down out here. But you can see temperatures are still 80 or better. So we don't really have a true sea breeze today. It's a southwest wind. It's pretty strong. You know it's gusty out there if you were out playing in it. It's gusting over 25 miles per hour without the thunderstorms. It's coming out of the southwest. So for most of places to the west of the 95 corridor, from Providence to Boston, you're 80 or better. That's still enough fuel for these storms to survive the trip into Boston. But notice down here in southeastern Mass, it's a little cooler. As I mentioned, a little tempered, mid-70s, and even some 60s out on the Cape. Southwest wind, it's coming off of places outside of Montauk, Long Island. It's coming off of Long Island Sound. It's a little cooler. Obviously, this time of the year, the ocean water is very chilly. If you spend any time near it over the Memorial Day weekend, you know what I'm talking about. And it's blowing cooler, tempered air into southeastern Mass, hopefully enough to knock some of these storms down as they get into that area. But it looks like there will be enough fuel, heat and humidity in Metro West for these storms to survive the trip. And that's why we have this severe thunderstorm warning up, even though it's probably an hour, hour and a half away from true Metro West inside of 495 and inside of 128. But we're very, I guess we should say we're very positive, negative, I should say, that these storms are going to get in there. It looks like they're going to survive the trip. Lisa, do you have...
Yeah, and a quick question for you, Todd. You were talking about how difficult it is here in New England to actually determine when you have a tornado as opposed to, other parts of the country where you can see it so clearly. Is that why, after we have severe weather like this, you sometimes can't tell whether it's a tornado or straight line winds until they send the investigators out?
It is, Lisa. Yeah, you're right on there. Here in the Northeast, a lot of these storms, they've got a lot of moisture with them. So not only do we get the damage from the wind, the hail, and perhaps the tornado, but we also get that torrential rain. And that rain really limits visibility. You don't get those clear pictures that you get out in the Midwest, which we saw last week out of Oklahoma City, and we saw from the Joplin, Missouri tornado, and also earlier in the season down in Alabama. We had some great pictures. Helicopters were literally flying around these storms and seeing the funnel come out, seeing the funnel grow, and seeing all the damage and path that it caused. But around here, it's a lot more difficult because of the rain-wrapped conditions and the reduced visibility. So a lot of the time, we do have to send that survey team. The National Weather Service sends that survey team to evaluate the damage that the storm caused. And it usually happens the next day or the day after, if in case of a severe thunderstorm outbreak. If there are multiple areas that they have to get to, it may take a few days. But it usually takes a little time to really pinpoint and determine if a tornado did occur. Terry just handed me this bulletin from the National Weather Service, and again, the National Weather Service Doppler radar continues to indicate the potential for a tornado out of this cell out here near Northampton. The tornado would be located near Hadley or near Northampton, which we just mentioned, and it continues to move at a pace at 40 miles per hour to the east I got a couple other bulletins here. Here, there you go, the flood advisory. We were talking about the training of those echoes, the training of those storms, going over the same area multiple times with these storms. So now we have a flood advisory for southern Franklin County. That includes Greenfield. We have a flood advisory for northwestern Hampden County, and we also have a flood advisory in Hampshire County, which includes Northampton and Amherst. So this area is just taking it on the chin, all aspects, with the wind, the hail, potential tornado, and now flooding. Storm drains just can't keep up. We've had multiple cells, multiple thunderstorms go over the same town over and over and over again. You can see it right here as we put this radar into motion. You know, there's just a huge cluster cruising across the Berkshires, and you know, Northampton's getting hit right now, and this looks really nasty. See that right there? That little hook? That's not good. That's a sign of a very mature supercell. That's the storm that we're concerned about with the tornado. This appendage you see right there, that's what we call a hook echo. That's a very, very telltale sign the radar is picking up strong circulation. That's likely where the tornado would be if it's on the ground right now or would be forming. What's going on here is we have an updraft and a downdraft within every thunderstorm. That's by definition, every thunderstorm has an updraft and a downdraft. And if that updraft gets strong enough, it kind of wedges in right here. You can almost see this little notch forming right in here. So this is your updraft, and then you got a downdraft right in there. And it's between the two where you're going to get that intense circulation. That's where you're going to get that intense circulation. That's likely where the tornado is.
Todd, real quick, as we're looking at that picture, too, because the leading edge of the storm, if somebody's on the ground, they're going to see, obviously, the dark clouds. They're going to see some very strong rain, strong winds, even some hail. And then it passes, and then there's sort of that gap right there. That gap is sort of a calm before they start to see or even feel the circulation. It just stops, doesn't it?
It's probably still pretty intense in here. There's probably, you know, this is a mature thunderstorm. And this is where your updraft would be right in here. So it's sucking in a lot of air. It's sucking it in fast. It could suck it in as fast as 60 miles per hour. So it's probably still pretty turbulent out here near Granby. You know, just north of Holyoke, there's Holyoke right there. This is that hook, this nasty little appendage right over South Hadley. That's pretty scary. You know, you don't see these too often here in the Northeast, but occasionally you do. We do average 3 tornadoes a year here in Massachusetts. We haven't had a confirmed tornado in Massachusetts since 2008. It's been almost 3 years. That one came out of Rhode Island and crossed the border into southeastern Mass. But this is not good looking right here. This is what we call a hook echo. This appendage right here indicates some strong, strong rotation. Most likely, if you're probably to the south and west of the storm, if there's not a whole lot of rain right here, you could probably see some sort of circulation going on. If not, the tornado itself. If it's on the ground, the tornado itself. All up in here, you don't think you're out of the woods up in here. I mean, keep in mind, this is a huge, huge thunderstorm, a mature supercell, 5, 10 miles, 15 miles wide, 15 miles large. Not everywhere in this is the tornado. I think it's right in here with this appendage and this hook echo right in here. There's where the intense circulation would be. But up in here is where you're going to get your very, very large hail. That's where the hail core would be. That's the center of the storm. This updraft kind of snakes up like this. It kind of goes up like that into it, and then gets blown out by the jet stream up in here. All this is the anvil up in here with intense rain, and beyond it's probably just some high, thin cirrus clouds dark on the horizon that you're probably seeing out in central Mass and Worcester County. You can probably see the top of this bad boy right here. It's probably 50 to 60,000 feet in the air. So you can probably see it all the way from Worcester, even though it's still about an hour away. So again, this is the area that we're really concerned about right here. If you're on the air with us right now, you're looking outside your window, you're seeing sunshine, you're seeing warm conditions, you're feeling the warmth, you're feeling the humidity, you're saying, what's the problem? There's nothing around here. These storms are flying to the east at 40 miles per hour. Already have produced a lot of damage with wind gusts over 60. Already have produced large hail, 2 inches in diameter, golf ball size. And we think here in our weather office that these are going to survive the trip through central Mass into the Metro West and won't weaken that much. And, of course, are capable of producing tornadoes. We have a tornado watch up for the Boston metro area until 8 o'clock this evening, and already we've had 2 tornado warnings up from the National Weather Service. One in southwestern New Hampshire, which has expired, and the other one down here near Northampton, which I don't know if it's expired, and I believe it was up until 4 o'clock. I don't know if they extended the warning or not. But regardless, this